Let's improve your English pronunciation by reading 5 short stories together. I will read each of these stories twice, once at normal speed, and then the second time I will read it much slower so you can listen to the sounds more carefully. I highly recommend that you record yourself while you're reading these stories so you can listen back to yourself and correct your mistakes. If you need more time to repeat, then feel free to pause the video at any moment. By the way, if you're new to English pronunciation and you have no idea where to get started, then I have the perfect solution for you. I've put together a powerful pack of completely free PDFs, videos and audio recordings to get you started with learning the fundamentals of English pronunciation. Just click the link in the description to sign up and I'll email you your completely free English pronunciation pack. Now let's get started with the first story. The Lost Puppy. Once upon a time, there lived a young boy named Tom. He lived in a small village in the north of England. He loved animals, especially his little puppy, Max. One sunny afternoon, Max went missing. Tom searched everywhere, feeling worried and sad. In his quest, he met different villagers who helped him look for Max. They searched the fields, the forest, and near the river. Finally, they found Max playing near an old barn. Tom was overjoyed and grateful. He learned the value of friendship and community through this adventure. Once upon a time, there lived a young boy named Tom. He lived in a small village in the north of England. He loved animals, especially his little puppy, Max. One sunny afternoon, Max went missing. Tom searched everywhere, feeling worried and sad. In his quest, he met different villagers who helped him look for Max. They searched the fields, the forest, and near the river. Finally, they found Max playing near an old barn. Tom was overjoyed and grateful. He learned the value of friendship and community through this adventure. The Magic Garden. Lily discovered a hidden garden behind her grandmother's house. Curious, she decided to explore it. The garden was full of colourful flowers and singing birds. In the centre, there was a beautiful fountain. Lily noticed that when she made a wish near the fountain, it came true. She wished for her grandmother to be happy, and suddenly a beautiful butterfly appeared, making her grandmother smile. Lily realized that the garden was magical, but the real magic was in bringing joy to others. Lily discovered a hidden garden behind her grandmother's house. Curious, she decided to explore it. The garden was full of colourful flowers and singing birds. In the centre, there was a beautiful fountain. Lily noticed that when she made a wish near the fountain, it came true. She wished for her grandmother to be happy, and suddenly a beautiful butterfly appeared, making her grandmother smile. Lily realized that the garden was magical, but the real magic was in bringing joy to others. A day at the beach. Maria and her family went to the beach for a day of fun. Maria loved building sandcastles and collecting seashells. She also learnt to surf with her older brother. The waves were gentle, perfect for beginners. Maria felt scared at first, but she bravely stood on the surfboard and rode her first wave. She felt a sense of accomplishment. The family all enjoyed a picnic while watching the sunset, and Maria realized just how much she loved the ocean and her family. Maria and her family went to the beach for a day of fun. Maria loved building sandcastles and collecting seashells. She also learned to surf with her older brother. The waves were gentle, perfect for beginners. Maria felt scared at first, but she bravely stood on the surfboard and rode her first wave. She felt a sense of accomplishment. The family all enjoyed a picnic while watching the sunset, and Maria realized just how much she loved the ocean and her family. The Starry Night Camp. Alex and his friends were camping in the mountains. They set up their tents and gathered around the campfire. Alex was fascinated by the stars and wanted to learn about constellations. His friend Sarah, who loved astronomy, showed him how to identify different stars and constellations. They saw the Big Dipper and made wishes every time they saw a shooting star. That night, Alex learnt about the wonders of the sky and the joy of sharing knowledge with friends. Alex and his friends went camping in the mountains. They set up their tents and gathered around the campfire. Alex was fascinated by the stars and wanted to learn about constellations. His friend Sarah, who loved astronomy, showed him how to identify different stars and constellations. They saw the Big Dipper and made wishes every time they saw a shooting star. That night, Alex learnt about the wonders of the sky and the joy of sharing knowledge with friends. The school play. Emily was nervous about her role in the school play. She had to remember many lines and was afraid of making mistakes. During rehearsals, her friends encouraged her, and her teacher gave her some helpful tips. On the day of the play, Emily felt more confident. She performed wonderfully, and the audience applauded loudly. Emily learned that with practice and support from others, she could overcome her fears and succeed. Emily was nervous about her role in the school play. She had to remember many lines and was afraid of making mistakes. During rehearsals, her friends encouraged her, and her teacher gave her some helpful tips. On the day of the play, Emily felt more confident. She performed wonderfully, and the audience applauded loudly. Emily learnt that with practice and support from others, she could overcome her fears and succeed. Well done for reading these stories so beautifully. Which story was your favourite one to read? Tell me in the comments. Your next step now is to click on the link in the description and get your free pronunciation pack. You'll receive an additional story to continue practicing your pronunciation, as well as some free video lessons and a PDF book containing all the mistakes that English learners typically make, so you can avoid making them as well. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you in the next lesson. Bye bye! No, Freya. No, Freya. Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. And then the second time it's a fly. Like a fly, like, about to go into my mouth. During rehearsals. Are you ready? Let's begin. The Lost Cat. Once upon a time, in a small town, there was a cat named Luna. Luna was black and white. She liked to go out and see new places. But one day, she went too far and got lost. She walked a lot and could not find her home. Her family was sad and looked for her everywhere. They put up pictures and asked people, "Have you seen Luna?" They looked for her for many hours. At last, they found Luna. She was under a tree. Her family was very happy to see her. Luna was happy too and said, "I will never go too far again." A day at the park. Tom and Mia were friends. One sunny day, they decided to go to the park for a picnic. They took some sandwiches, some fruit, and some apple juice with them. In the park, they chose a nice place under a big tree to sit. They ate and enjoyed their food. After that, they played games like hide and seek. They also fed the ducks. They were very happy and laughed a lot. When the sun began to set, they packed up their things. They promised each other they would come back soon. It was a wonderful day at the park. The magic seed. Ben found a shiny black seed in his garden. He decided to plant it, wondering what it would become. Every day he watered it and waited. Slowly, a little green shoot came up. It grew into a big and very strange plant that Ben had never seen before. One morning, he saw a beautiful, bright flower on the plant. Ben was surprised. The flower made him feel happy and special. He learned that small things can grow into something amazing. The mystery book. Emily found an old dusty book in her attic. It was a mystery novel from many years ago. The cover was worn, but the story was captivating. As she read the book, she felt like she was part of the adventure, solving clues with the detective. The book was full of unexpected twists and turns, keeping her guessing until the very end. When she finally solved the mystery with the detective, she felt a sense of achievement. The book had ignited her love for reading and solving mysteries. The bicycle trip. Marco and his friends decided to go on a bicycle trip around the lake. They prepared by checking their bikes and packing some snacks and water. The journey was challenging but beautiful, with stunning views of nature. Halfway, they stopped for a picnic and enjoyed the peaceful surroundings. However, on the way back, Marco's bike got a flat tire. The group worked together to fix it, learning the importance of teamwork and preparation. Despite the setback, they finished their trip feeling proud and closer as friends. The art contest. Sophia loved to paint and decided to enter a local art contest. She worked hard on her painting, putting her heart and soul into it. The theme of the contest was nature's beauty, so she painted a breathtaking landscape. At the contest, she saw many talented artists and felt incredibly nervous. When Sophia's painting won third place, she was overjoyed. The experience taught her to believe in herself and her art. She made new friends who shared her passion and was inspired to keep painting. The forgotten manuscript. In the quiet solitude of his study, Professor Harper stumbled upon a forgotten manuscript buried beneath a pile of academic journals. The manuscript was a collection of short stories
penned by an obscure author from the early 20th century. It offered a glimpse into the cultural zeitgeist of a bygone era. Intrigued, Professor Harper dedicated himself to its analysis, uncovering themes of resilience and the human condition. His research eventually led to a published paper that revitalized interest in the author, contributing significantly to literary scholarship. The Quantum Experiment. Dr. Olivia Kim was at the forefront of quantum computing research. Her latest experiment aimed to demonstrate quantum entanglement over unprecedented distances. The setup was intricate, requiring precise calibration of lasers and mirrors. After months of preparation, the experiment was finally conducted. The results were astonishing, not only confirming the theory, but also opening new avenues for quantum communication. Dr. Kim's work challenged existing paradigms, earning her accolades in the scientific community and paving the way for future innovations. The linguist's discovery. Professor Laura Walker, a distinguished linguist, ventured into a remote Amazonian village to document a nearly extinct tribal language. Her arrival was met with enthusiasm from the locals, keen to preserve their linguistic heritage. Through extensive research, Professor Walker uncovered a sophisticated linguistic system, deeply entwined with the tribe's ecological wisdom. Her findings, published in an academic paper, highlighted the critical relationship between linguistic diversity, cultural preservation, and ecological understanding. Walker's work also spotlighted the urgent need to safeguard endangered languages as repositories of invaluable knowledge and environmental stewardship, catalyzing global conservation efforts. It's a mouthful, was that last one, wasn't it? And that's the end.
Once upon a time. This links. Once upon a time. Once upon a time. And notice the intonation as well. Once upon a time. Two brothers lived at the edge of a forest. Notice that rhythm. Two brothers lived at the edge of a forest. So you notice that my intonation is going up every time we're stressing one of the key words. So we've got two brothers lived at the edge of a forest. Lived at the edge. We're going to link this together with a ya. If you find the text too small to read, then I'm sorry. Please find a laptop or a bigger screen, a tablet or something. I cannot change it. Not now. And then we're going to link these together. At the edge of the forest. Edge of the forest. So notice that these all link together. I'm not saying lived at the edge of a forest. Yeah, okay? I'm linking them all together and I've got a nice rhythm. Lived at the edge of a forest. And we're linking connected speech. The edge of that yeah. The older brother. We're going to link this here. The older with that yeah sound again. Yeah as in yes, yellow, yesterday. Yeah? The older. The older brother was always, Lincoln, was always, not was always, was always mean to his younger brother. Now what we're going to do with his is we're going to cut this H here. So we're going to say to his, instead of to his younger brother, to his, okay? Why do we do this? Anyone know? It's because the word is unstressed. So with a lot of words that are unstressed,
we can cut and change some letters. We can be a bit more flexible, okay? I'm speaking very, very generally there. But when we have words that are that are weak, okay, like his. So in English, we have strong words and weak words, or words that have a strong and weak form, okay? His is one of them. His is the strong form. Is a weaker form, okay? It's something that we use in the sentence. Mean to whiz. I'm not saying the H. Not to his. To his. Always mean to his brother. We're connecting this as well really nicely. Mean to. Mean to. I'm not saying mean to. I'm not releasing. Mean to his younger brother. So those are just the first two sentences. Any questions so far? Sorry, my nose is really, really itching today. I'm not sure why. Let's see. Understand that linking is the key of speaking natural, don't you? I think it depends. I think it really, really does depend. Sometimes people kind of I don't know how to explain it, but they sometimes like overlink and overconnect. Like they're trying to connect everything, and it can sound a little bit forced sometimes. Yeah, fantastic, exactly. The older brother with that y sound. What's the rule for connected speech? If there's a rule, there is. Well done for asking. So I will talk about it very, very quickly. But what we've got here, maybe the older is a bit of an easier example, okay? So if you've got two vowels together, your first word ends in a vowel, your next word starts in another vowel. We can link these vowels together, okay? And there are three sounds that we can use to do that. There's ya, hope you can see that, yep, wa, and then ra. Okay, so when we're linking vowel sounds together, we use these three sounds a lot of the time, okay? So in this case, the older, I'm adding that ya. We've got to whiz, because we're removing the H. When we remove the H, we're now left with this vowel sound here. So we're going to link it to whiz, and then we add the wa. With the ra, I'm pretty sure I have one linking with ra somewhere, but if not, I'll just give an example now. Okay, let's go with these two. If it's too small, then I'm sorry, get a bigger screen. So you've got car alarm. So in most British accents, we don't pronounce this R, right? It just becomes car. Car. I don't say car. That's very American sounding, right? There are some accents within the UK that do pronounce the R, but I'm talking about modern received pronunciation here, okay? So car alarm. We don't pronounce this R, and we also don't pronounce this R. Actually, it's the same sound. Yeah. Car alarm. However, together, because now we've got two vowel sounds together, R and with the schwa here, yeah? We're going to link them together with a r. So this R, when the word is alone, or if there's a consonant sound after this word, it's silent. But if the next word starts with another vowel sound, we add the r in and we pronounce it. Car alarm. Car alarm. Now, we call this the linking R, okay? Over here, we've got law and order. We're going to cut this D. We're going to connect this. In order. So notice I'm cutting that D. Like we did with his, we've got the weak form is. And we've got the weak form in. So we shorten it. We don't shorten it. We cut the D, sorry. And then we weaken the word to un. Then law ends in this or sound. And with certain sounds, I'm not going to go into detail here in this video because I have a full video explaining all about it on YouTube that you can go and take a look at. And also on the course, I'm going to be taking a look at it in more detail and practicing it with you to make sure you're doing it correctly as well. And that you're not just absorbing the rules, but that you can produce it as well. We actually had a R here. So we've got law and order. Law and order.
So we add a r in there to help us connect those two vowel sounds together. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, well, why are we adding sounds to connect these together? Well, it makes it easier to transition. Because if I say lo and order, it's like lo and order. It's hard to pronounce those two vowels together, especially for an English speaker, okay? It may be possible for you in your language, but for native English speakers, it's very difficult, okay? We can't do it. We need a sound in there to separate those vowels. So law and order. And this one, we call the intrusive R, okay? Because there's no R in the spelling. So we call it an intrusive R. Linking R is when you have a R, so you have an R in the spelling. Intrusive R, there's no R. And of course, these ones are also silent. Order, order. Law and order. Car alarm. You notice those? Exactly. Perfect. Like I saw a movie. Yeah, fantastic. So you got I saw a movie. I saw a movie. We connect it with that R. Any other questions about connected speech? Can you get a copy of the text? Maybe I can put it in the description. But otherwise, I mean, you've got the video of it here. This video will be available for replay, like as a replay. You can watch it as many times as you want. It's only the three letters y, w, and r. Yes. Yes, yes. So no more questions about that. Fantastic. Okay, if the audio is a little bit low, then turn up your volume because it's on max volume for me. I can't put it up anymore, and I'm not shouting because it's a Saturday and I don't want to disturb my neighbours. Flora and fauna. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, flora and fauna. It's quite a mouthful. Flora. So that's that, okay? And then when it comes to, for example, here where we've got two consonants together, what we do is if they are pronounced in the same part of the mouth, we can hold it and then release it for the next consonant sound. So for example, n and t, I probably got mouth noises then, sorry. N and t, they're both pronounced with the alveolar ridge at the front here. N, t, okay? So what I can do is hold that n and release it as a t. Mean to. Mean to. Instead of saying mean to. I'm releasing it twice. What happens here when you have consonant vowel? So if this is consonant consonant, these ones are, for example, vowel vowel. When you have consonant vowel, super easy peasy. You take that final consonant sound and you move it over to the beginning of the next word. So, for example, you've got ut. So we're not going to say at because it's not the strong form. Ut, okay? Ut. Then we've got lived. We're going to take that duh. We're going to move it over and we're going to say lived it. Lived it. So that duh moves over. And that's what happens when you have a consonant and a vowel together. Easy peasy, right? Yeah. Sometimes you say look at and don't use connected speech, right? I use connected speech. Native English speakers use connected speech naturally. If they don't use connected speech, then they will sound quite robotic, okay? We use it naturally, and a lot of the time we don't know that we're using it, right? It's just something that natives learn, but we don't learn it in school, okay? We just learn it just from acquiring the language as children. So, moving on to the next paragraph. God, my nose is really itchy today. I don't know why. I must have like some kind of allergy to a plant or something in here. So I've got loads of plants behind me. But never mind. So, second paragraph. Every day, the older brother, so you know what's going to happen here. The older brother would go. Look what I'm doing. I'm not saying would go. I'm saying would go. Notice what I'm doing? Would go. That duh changes to a ga. Would go. We hold it. So we're not saying would go. would go, okay? This is something that we do to certain letters at the end of words, okay? Ta, I'll write them here. Ta, oh, that's just on the edge there. Let's move it a bit closer. There we go. Ta, da, and na are the biggest ones. Sorry, if I keep looking over here, my neighbors are having like a barbecue or something and it keeps distracting me. I should close my curtains. Ta, da, and na, if they appear at the end of a word, quite commonly, they will change so that they are similar to the next sound, okay? To the next consonant sound. This also happens with other sounds, like occasionally it can happen with ka, for example, okay? But ta, da, and na, it happens to these three quite a lot. So if you ever hear certain words that ending ta, da, na changing, perhaps it sounds like that final sound has disappeared or it is changing, that's because it is. You're not crazy, okay? We call this assimilation. I was going to say elision. It's not elision. We call this assimilation, if you want the technical term, okay? That basically means that we're taking a sound and we're changing it so it's easier to pronounce the next sound, or it's easier to pronounce the sounds around it, okay? This happens a lot in English, and it happens in some other languages as well, okay? So, older brother would go into. So we've got vowel again together. Go into. What I'll do later is I will find the link for my video on connected speech. I have a full playlist about connected speech, and I talk about the rules for these in way more detail, okay? So you'll know how to do it in more detail, like when is it ya, wa, and ra, all right? Because I don't want to go into it here. I could easily spend an extra 10 minutes on that, and I don't want to do that. Because this stream was only supposed to be half an hour, but is looking more like 45 minutes. So, go winter. We're going to add that wa. Go into the forest. Mind this TH as well in the. Make sure you're not saying de or d, okay? The forest. Go into the forest to collect some. Now here what we're doing is we're cutting this T. Super simple, easy peasy rule. If you have ta or da at the end of a word and you have consonant T or D plus the next word starts with another consonant, cut that t or da, right? You can pronounce it. You can say to collect some wood. But it's quite hard, right? So what many natives will do is they will cut it, right? This is your speak like a native hack, right? That everyone is always talking about, like marketing. If you want to speak like a native, then cut some sounds. We're quite lazy as native speakers. So to collect some. So I'm cutting that T, right? Collect some wood. To collect some wood to sell at the local market. So you might be wondering, Emma, why are you putting these lines here? What are these? Well, these are just to mark little pauses, okay? These are called speech units. So when we have these little kind of sections here, for example, like this is a speech unit, it's like little parts of a phrase or sentence or whatever, where we have breaks around them just to breathe, just to pause. And there are no set rules for when we put these breaks. But of course, if you put them in completely random places, it can sound a bit weird, okay? So for example, every day, the older brother would go into the forest. Oh, that sounds strange, right? So we're not going to do that. Every day, the older brother would go into the forest to collect some wood to sell at the local market. So notice I'm putting in these little breaks, and it helps kind of make the text a bit more digestible and also gives you a bit of a break. You can change where you put the pauses to add emphasis. So for example, to make it sound super dramatic, the older brother would go into the forest to collect some wood
to sell at the local market. So you see how it changes the meaning once you start adding these pauses. So English is quite flexible in that way. And as I said, there's no set rule. Any questions about that so far? Do you have a complete pronunciation course? Yes, I do. I have my own pronunciation course, and it's been updated every single month, every month. But there's also the group classes as well, which you can join on the Preply page. The link is in the description. Any other questions? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. I'm glad to hear. Yep, perfect, exactly. Yeah, you've got the rule, exactly. Consonant, TD, consonant, you can cut the T and D. You don't have to, but you can. You can cut it, all right? So let's press on. Let's continue. One day. Remember, we're not going to say one day. We're going to say one day. One day. Connect it together. As cut the H. As he was about to lower his axe. Cut this. This lower would normally be a schwa, but because we're removing the H, we've got a vowel. We've got vowel, right? What we're going to do, we're going to add that R back in here. As he was about to lower his axe. As he was about to lower his axe. As he was about to lower his axe to chop down one specific tree. To chop down one specific tree. Notice I'm putting a bit more emphasis on that one specific tree. Okay? It's not just chop down one specific tree. No. To chop down one specific tree. I'm adding more emphasis because it makes it a bit more dramatic. Yeah? It's one specific tree. Be dreaming of that phrase tonight. One specific tree. He heard it speak. He heard it speak. So, it speak. I'm pronouncing them together. It speak. It speak. He heard it speak. He heard it speak. It said. It said. Not it said. It said. Please, spare me my branches. Or if you're from the south, branches. Okay, they say branches in the south. Branches. Or if you're from the north, like I am, branches. You choose whichever one you want. Okay. I'm going to say branches because I'm from the north. Branches. If you spare my branches. If you spare. So notice this R, silent, spare. Spare me my branches. If you spare my branches, I will give you some golden apples. Some golden apples. I will give you some golden apples. The boy agreed. The boy agreed. Vowel, vowel. So even though we have this Y here, remember, it's a vowel sound. Oi. The boy agreed. Again, mind that TH here, not de boy. The boy. The. The boy agreed. So the tree. So the tree. The tree. So the tree gave him 2 golden apples. Golden apples. Golden apples. The boy agreed. So the tree gave him 2 golden apples. Need some water. How are we doing so far? Which British dialect do you use when teaching? Dialect? Dialect and accent are 2 different things. Okay? In terms of dialect, I tend to use a more standard dialect. I'm not going to use Yorkshire dialect. Dialect refers to the words. Accent refers to how you say something, depending on where you're from.
or your background, your education, and so many different things, okay? In terms of my accent, I focus on teaching modern RP, but I do incorporate elements of my own accent because that's part of my identity. It's where I'm from, okay? And I also compare the two. So if there's ever something that is not RP, like for example with branches, okay, I'm gonna say in the south, RP, they say branches, but do be aware that in the north, half the country, 50% of the country say branches, right? Perfect. Golden apples. Remember what we do? We take that final consonant sound, we move it over. Golden apples. Golden apples. Should we move about to? About to. So we're not going to move it, but we're going to hold it. It's a good question. Where was that? About to. Was that there? Or was that just a random question? I have a feeling it was in here, but maybe not. Yeah, about to. We hold it. Yes, I'm going to save this as a replay. Please do not worry. Loads of linking sounds. Yes, we have a lot. We have a lot in English. A lot. We link all the freaking time. All the time. We link all the time in English. So, that's the first part. Okay, let's scroll down a little bit more. Ideally, I would like to finish this stream soon. I'd like to finish it at 1:45. So let's see how we get on. Okay. The boy felt disappointed. Now here, remember I told you, if you have consonant T, D, or consonant, we can remove the T, right? I'm going to show you something. What am I doing here? The boy felt disappointed. The boy felt disappointed. The boy felt disappointed. I'm not removing it. I'm changing it to a glottal stop. Right? Felt disappointed. If I removed it, it would sound like fell. Like the past of fall. Yeah? The boy fell disappointed. The boy felt disappointed. The boy felt disappointed. The boy felt disappointed. You notice that there's a bit of a pause there because I need the time for my glottis, the technical term. I need the time to close here, okay? So here what you have is two vocal cords vibrating away, all right? Your vocal folds, vocal cords, whatever you want to call them. They're vibrating away. And when you do a glottal stop, you stop them, right? They stop moving. And you get them in words or phrases, for example, like, uh-oh, uh-oh. And then you get that, uh-oh, and there's a closure. And that closure, uh-oh, that's the glottal stop. And we put that in words and at the end of words, like here. The boy felt disappointed. The boy felt disappointed. And you'll notice this in words, for example, like better, city, water, right? So it can happen in words, but quite commonly it happens at the end of words as well. And this is a case of that happening. I have a full video all about the glottal stop if you want to practice that. So the glottal stop tends to happen when we have, see if I remember, or a vowel. That's the one. Trying to remember these off the top of my head. My goodness. So if you have, and then a T, okay? So if your word ends in l, m, or n, and then a vowel, or a vowel, okay? L, m, n, or a vowel. And then you have a T at the end. It doesn't matter what comes after, okay? Doesn't matter what comes after. We can glottalize the T, right? If it's at the end of a word. L, m, n, or a vowel. I should put that as like or, not and. It should be l, m, n, like this. Like l, m, n, vowel.
and then a T. So felt, if it's a vowel, for example, cat becomes cat. A N, for example, can't becomes can't. I can't go. I can't go. Yeah, you notice how I glottalize it then. And then, yeah, with me, I can't think of one right now, but it's not important. See, it's not important. It's not important. Notice I use the glottal stop then. It's not important. Oh, it's a fly. So, the boy felt disappointed. The boy felt disappointed that he had only received 2 apples. Received 2 apples. I can cut that again. Received 2 apples. So remember, consonant, D, consonant, cut the D. Received 2 apples. Makes it so much easier to say once you start cutting sounds. It's strange at first, but you will grow to love it. Trust me. You'll be like, oh, why wasn't I cutting sounds before? Makes it so much easier. Yeah? So the T, had only. That he had only received 2 apples. And we connect with that word. 2 wapples. 2 apples. The boy felt disappointed. That he had only... So I could put a break here. The boy felt disappointed that he had only received 2 apples. So we threatened... Remove that H. Add a W. So we. So we threatened. Remove this. Threaten the tree. I would probably add a pause there. He threatened the tree and asked for more. So with this asked, notice I'm not saying the K. Life hack, okay? Instead of asked. And asked for more. If you're from the south of England, then you would say asked. Okay? Again, another difference. 50% of the country say asked, the others say asked, right? I say asked. So, and asked for more. I cut the K. Right? So when we get certain consonant clusters, s, k, t, we can cut the middle one. Right? We can cut the middle one. In this case, we cut the K. Now, what happens? Well, we also have consonant, T, consonant. What else can happen, Emma? Oh my goodness, Emma, you're not going to tell me that we've got this consonant, T, consonant. We're going to cut the T as well. Yeah, we are. We're going to cut that T. We're just going to cut these. And we're going to say, and ask for more. So yes, it sounds like the word ass, right? An ass for more. Or if you're from the south, an ask for more. An ask for more. So we threaten the tree and ask for more. So we threaten the tree and ask for more. Yeah, we cut it. It makes it so much easier. So much easier. Then we don't have like 4 consonants all together. S, k, t, f. 4 consonants together is hard, even for a native speaker. So let's cut some, okay? The tree became mangry. The tree became mangry. Pause. And showered him with hundreds of tiny pine needles. Pine needles. And asked for more. The tree became angry and showered him with hundreds of tiny pine needles. Right? The boy cried out in pain. In pain. In pain. Remember what happened with wood? What was it? What was it? Would go. Yeah? Remember what happened with that? When we had would go and I said would go. Same thing happens here. In pain. In pain. It's one of those 3 that changes. Remember? Ta, da, na. They change. Okay? In pain. The boy cried out in pain. The boy cried out in pain. Whilst crying, consonant T, consonant, cut that T. Whilst crying, if you're not sure what whilst is, it means while, okay, it's just more British. Whilst crying, his younger brother rushed to help him. Rushed, cut that sh, t, t. Yeah? Consonant T, consonant. Rush to help him. Help him. Carefully. Carefully. We're going to change this to this carefully, and then link it together. Carefully started to pull out each of the tiny pine needles. So we didn't hurt his brother more. Here, the same what I mentioned with felt, I can also say didn't hurt his brother. I could use the glottal stop as well. It's optional, doesn't matter, okay, whether you use it or not. Did I miss anything else? His younger brother rushed to help him and carefully started to pull out each of the tiny pine needles so he didn't hurt his brother more. When all the needles had been removed, so had been removed, strong form, had been removed, weak form, use the weak. When all the tiny needles had been removed, the boy hugged his brother, younger brother. The boy hugged his younger brother and apologized to him. Apologize, consonant T, consonant D, sorry. Consonant, apologize to him, or apologize to him. If we remove the H, yeah, it's optional. And apologize to him for always being so mean. Here, we're going to add that for always being so mean. And apologize to him for always being so mean. Yeah. The magical tree saw the change in the older brother's behavior. Long part there. The magical tree saw the change in the older brother's behavior and decided to give both of the boys more golden apples. The magical tree saw the change in the older brother's behavior and decided to give both of the boys more golden apples. So every time I'm clicking, I'm stressing the word, right? The moral of the story here is, pause. To always be kind. The moral of the story here is, the moral of the story here is to always be kind. Because kindness does, we're going to really stress that does, because kindness does pay off in the end. We're really putting the stress here because we really want to emphasize that it does pay off, okay? Because kindness, same here, consonant, D, consonant, even though it's within a word, cut it, kindness, instead of kindness, kindness. Because kindness does pay off. We got that yeah, pay off in the end. Again there, pay off in the end. Because kindness does pay off in the end. And that's that. In life, it's quite common that we come across people who think that they are better than you. They appear arrogant and ridicule you. A popular fable with this theme is one called The Tortoise and the Hare. A hare is like a rabbit, but it's larger and tends to have ears which point backwards, as opposed to upwards like a rabbit's. A tortoise is also similar to a turtle, but it lives on land and isn't aquatic. The story of the tortoise and the hare goes like this. One day, an arrogant hare challenged the tortoise to a race. The hare thought for sure that he was going to win, as he was much faster than the tortoise. However, the tortoise accepted his challenge. The race was simple. Run from point A to point B as fast as you can, and the first one to the end will win the race. The hare felt arrogant and smug, as he knew he was going to find the race a breeze. They both waited at the start line, and then, bang! The race began and the hare shot off into the lead. The tortoise ambled his way to the finish line. Some moments later, the hare decided to take a nap and wait for the tortoise to catch up. So he found a nice shaded area under a lovely oak tree and made himself comfortable. Some time passed and the tortoise began catching up to where the hare had stopped for his nap. The tortoise then overtook the hare and later crossed the finish line. When the hare woke up, he dashed to the finish line and saw that the tortoise was sitting there, waiting for the hare to finish the race. The smug look vanished off the hare's face as he realized that the tortoise had beaten him. So, the moral of the story is to not be too arrogant and ridicule others who you think are not as good as you. Okay, so that's the story. If there's any vocabulary that you don't know, I highly recommend you take a moment just to quickly search it, because this isn't going to be a vocabulary focused lesson. All right, we're going to go through and we're going to analyze it together now from a phonetics perspective. Okay, so here at the bottom, I also have a full phonetic transcript here. Now, this is transcribed in phonemes. This isn't transcribed in allophones, so there's nothing specific here. It's basically just a very simple phonetic representation of the story. So we'll get to that in a moment if we need to. So let's start up here. So I'm going to break it into chunks. So this is a really good technique that you could do when you're practicing your pronunciation, is do something called chunking, okay? And this is where you take either sentences or sections of sentences and you say them as one. So instead of saying, in life, it's quite common, you're kind of squishing them together. So it's like, in life, it's quite common, yeah? So you're kind of learning it as a unit, okay, instead of separate words. That's called chunking, okay? So the first part here, we're going to join these two together, this na and la. So in life. I might also just be slightly egotistic here and just make my face bigger. Then you can see my mouth. That's all I care about. But yeah, in life. So a lot of people, they have problems with sounds that come together that are pronounced in similar positions, right? And na and la are in a very similar position, but na, you can see I'm creating a seal, na, here, na, and the sounds coming out of my nose is a nasal sound, yeah, and then I switch this, I hold it up, yeah, and I switch it so it's just the tip of my tongue, and then I release. So what I mean is, in life, you see? So I'm not saying in life. It's quite common. So what can happen with this T here, quite common, we might change this T into a K sound, okay? Quite common, so I'm pronouncing it here. It's quite common. In life, it's quite common. So have a go. In life, it's quite common. It's quite common. Here, we've got the n and the together. So it's quite common. common. You see what my tongue did then? Yeah, quite common that we. So this na, I'm not saying common that. I'm not releasing it. I'm holding it up there, yeah, at the top of my mouth. Common, then I slide it forward for the TH. Common that we. It's quite common that we. In life, it's quite common that we. You see? Now we're starting to chunk. In life, it's quite common that we. Or that we. I glottalized it, but you don't have to. That we come across. We come across. So this ma at the end of come, because of course this E here is silent, yeah? I don't say come there, but come. It ends with a ma sound. We're going to take that ma, we're going to move it over to the start of the next word. So instead of saying come across, we're saying come across. Come across. It's quite common that we come across people who. So this who here, we can also cut the H. It's not necessary. But sometimes what people do is they say people who think. People who think. So we're going to move that la over here. People who think. It's quite common that we come across people who think. You see what happens? Yeah, we're joining these together, joining these, and we're changing the sound and also connecting them there. If you're not sure, yes, it's assimilation. Yes. If you're not sure what assimilation is, it's basically where we take some sounds together and we change one or more of the sounds to make it easier to transition to the next word. It's difficult? Well, that's because you need to focus more. Because you need to practice. And this is stuff that people don't teach, right? They don't teach this. So then when you start speaking, you sound like, in life, it's quite common that we come across people who think they are better. And you stress everything, yeah? And you try to pronounce every single sound because that's how people taught you. That's how people taught you from the beginning. But then when you get to a level where you're able to converse, you're able to speak fine, you stumble across certain sounds. And why is that? Because you're not taught connected speech and you're not taught to cut certain sounds. And really, if more people did this, it would really, it would change the game. It seriously would change your life. That sounds so dramatic, but really, it would change your life. It would make it so much easier. We can cut the WH sound, make it an oo. It doesn't become an O, Giovanni. It becomes like an oo. Ooh. Yeah, people-oo. People-oo. Like an oo. Like this one. Yeah. With the dots usually. But I would just make it a bit shorter. Instead of people who think, or people who. So it's the same mouth placement. Ooh. But just without the length, without the two dots. This is a masterclass, exactly. And if you want to be the master, you gotta pay attention in the class. Really focusing on it. I'm glad. I'm sorry I can't read your name because it's in Korean and I want to learn Korean, but I haven't learned it yet. So, yeah, sorry I can't read your name. Next year I'll be able to. I want to learn Korean. This is interesting. Why are natives making language more and more complex to learn day by day? I completely disagree. Native speakers do this because it's easier to do. What you're doing is complicating it. You are complicating it for yourself. While if you learned connected speech from the very beginning, and if you learned about sentence stress, if you learned about removing the sounds, which is called ellipsis, okay? If you learned this from the very beginning, it would not be complicated now. It's not complicated stuff. It's not. It's just because no one really talks about this and no one teaches it. This is gonna make your life easier. It's gonna make it easier for you to speak, yeah? You're making it more difficult for yourself when you don't use connected speech. when I teach beginners and I don't use connected speech, it's really, really hard for me. It really is. I have to think a lot. It's a lot of effort pronouncing every sound. No. We don't want to do that. Cut some sounds. Make life easy for yourself. Make it easier. Why are you making it difficult for yourself? Anyway, back to the text. So, people who think they are. So these two here, we've got two vowels together. So if you've got two vowels, there are three ways that we can link them together with ya, wa, and r. Okay? They are. So this one is going to link with a ya sound. Oop, that looks like an accent. This ya. Why am I using my mouse? I should just use my tablet. I'm using the mouse and I literally have a tablet here. So yeah, they are. Please don't get confused with this. This is not a j. This is not a h if you're a Spanish speaker. It is a ya sound. Like, for example, in the word yellow or something. It's not letting me type. Oh, I would have to use my mouse. That's really annoying. But yeah, it's like a ya sound. Okay? So these two together, they are. Yeah? Now, we're not going to stress it. We're going to weaken it. We're going to pronounce the weak form. So this here, we're going to, instead of saying they are, we're going to say they are. Who think they are better. Who think they are better. And notice the stress as well. Who think they are better. Who think they are better. Yeah? Notice the link. And we're weakening the R. Better than you. So, all together, listen carefully. In life, it's quite common that we come across people who think they are better than you. How is that? That's just the first sentence. Ellipsis. Yes, ellipsis. I'll write it in the chat for you. Like this. Yeah. Any connection between that we? Where's we? We. That we. I wouldn't connect to these two. Would I? Common that we, that. I would probably glottalize this. That's meant to be a glottal stop. Looks like a 2. That we. But that's not connecting anything. No. Nope. Nothing there. Nope. We'll keep it simple. We'll keep it simple, she says. Oh dear. Yeah, so the next one. They appear. They appear. Notice this here. What am I doing? What am I connecting it with? They appear. They appear. There's a link in there. It's the ya again. They appear arrogant. Now, if I say this word here in isolation, appear, and then I say it together with the other word, appear arrogant, what happens? I've got hiccups now. What happens? Usually, appear is just with the schwa, yeah? Appear. There's no r in there, not appear. Yeah, because we're not Americans, right? Appear. Just a schwa. But when the next word starts with a vowel sound, we're going to take that r and we're going to join it together. That's a terrible R. There we are. That's a better one. It's a very, very tiny R. Yeah. They appear arrogant. Now that arrogant is going to be quite difficult to say if you're not used to doing the r bit, right? So practice the r. Don't say arrogant like ra, yeah? And try not to touch the top of your mouth as well with your tongue. A lot of students are like arrogant, appear arrogant, and they're touching the top. But really, in English, there are some accents where they do touch the top of the mouth with the tongue, but really, the tip of your tongue should not touch the top of your mouth, okay? Your tongue should be flat, right? At the front, it should be flat, yeah? The only thing that should move is the sides here, yeah? These are the only bits that should come up, but the tip of the tongue stays down, okay? If it comes up, that's how you get what's called a tap or flap, yeah? Or you get something called a trill, right? So if you say something like arrogant or arrogant, yeah, Spanish speakers, looking at you, okay, then, yeah, we don't usually use that one in modern RP, okay? But there are some accents where they say like arrogant and stuff like that. Italians as well. Italians watching you. Watching those Italians. If you are a Japanese, Thai, Vietnamese, Mandarin, Cantonese, Korean speaker, may have missed some there. I'm sorry if I did. Be very careful of the r, because a lot of the time some speakers of these languages pronounce it like a l, and instead of saying arrogant, you say like elegant, appear elegant, and you've got to be careful not to say it as a l, yeah, because we have l in English and r, and you see the difference, completely different. Indonesians also, yeah, but you don't pronounce it like a l in Indonesian. You pronounce it like a r, like you would say arrogant, yeah. So yeah, they appear arrogant. So here, arrogant. We're going to move that t over, and we're going to remove this d here. So what you'll see a lot of the time is, like, for example, a really, really famous dish in the UK, fish and chips, yeah? Now, I hear many students saying, oh, I like fish and chips, yeah? And, it sounds very, very strong, okay, to my ear. So what we would do is, instead of saying fish and chips, we weaken this vowel, so not fish and, but fish un, bourgeois, yeah? You see the difference? Yeah? Fish and chips. And this here, remove that D, fish and chips, and it becomes 100 times easier to say, yeah? Fish and chips. Same here. Arrogant and ridicule. Arrogant and ridicule. They appear arrogant and ridicule. I can't say ridicule now. They appear arrogant and ridicule you. They appear arrogant and ridicule you. Yeah? So ridicule is like to mock someone, to joke at someone. Not very nice. With the TH sound, I have a video about the TH sounds, and there are two. Many people, oh my god, and I've seen teachers do this as well. No shade to the teachers. I know I've been throwing lots of shade at teachers in this live stream, but it's because I've come across a lot of videos where they'll say, oh, today we're going to teach the TH sound. And I'm like, which one? Which one? There are two. There are two TH sounds. There's the voiceless and the voiced. Yeah. So like this one, for example, here, they appear. Make sure that you're not saying it like they appear. Thanks for bringing that up. Who was that? Oh, it was Hugo. Thank you, Hugo. Well, I don't know if your name's pronounced Hugo, but in English we say Hugo. That's your English name now. So make sure you're not saying they appear. They. Make sure you're saying they. So put your tongue in between your teeth. Yeah? They appear. They appear arrogant and ridicule you. Alright? Dark L sounds like a long O. Ridicule. Ooh. Ooh. There's no ooh. You either have ooh or you say ooh. What you're hearing is the vowel before it. So the second one. No doubt we won't get... I don't think we'll get through all of this today. If we can get to this part here of the story, I will be very, very happy. But yeah, let's try. I was very ambitious thinking we would get through the whole story, but it's better to be very... what's the word? Quality over quantity. Yeah. It's better to be thorough. It's a good word. Better to be thorough and specific than rush through it. Yeah. So the next sentence. A popular fable with this, not with this. Join them together. A popular fable with this theme. So this s and th. So this one with this. These are the voiced th ones. The. This one here is a voiceless th. That is terrible. Let's try again. There we are. Okay. So you've got the, th, the, th. A popular fable with this theme. I really slowed it down then. This theme. So I'm moving my tongue back with... Yeah, and then it goes back out again. With this theme. A popular fable with this theme. With this theme. A popular fable with this theme. Yeah. And with the s as well, I find sometimes, you know, a lot of videos, they teach you like, oh, make sure you use the tip of your tongue to do the s, right? And they're like, oh, s. Okay? But sometimes what happens, instead of using the very tip of your tongue here, make sure you're using what's called the blade of your tongue here. Okay? So not here. Here. A bit further up, yeah. We use the blade for the s. But sometimes what happens is we actually use the sides of the tongue instead of the blade of the tongue. So like when I do that with this, I'm actually using the sides of my tongue and I'm just creating like a little tiny bit of friction at the top. I need to make a video on that, but yeah, with this theme. So yeah, if you're finding it tricky, try kind of using the sides of your tongue a bit more. With this theme is, so we're going to move that m over. So a popular fable with this theme is one. A popular fable with this theme. Here actually, I wouldn't join these together. And I'll explain why. So here, we've kind of got a bit of a break. Okay? A popular fable with this theme is one called The Tortoise and the Hare. Yeah? You see how there's like a nice natural little break in there? So because we have that little break, we're not going to connect them together. Okay? So is one called. So this na here, if you remember, we changed this t here into a k. Quite common. Here, we're going to change this n. Alright? We're going to change this n into an ng. A very sexy sound, I know. Ng. So, we've got is one cold. One cold. So we're not saying one cold. One cold. That's really hard to say, right? Because there's a lot of movement happening. But one cold. One cold. Yeah? We're gonna, what's the word that I'm trying to think of? We're gonna hold it. I'm gonna say cut it, but no, I don't want you to cut. We're gonna hold it at the back. One. So not one. One. Yeah? One cold. One cold. The tortoise and the hare. The tortoise and the. What am I doing to this na? Yeah? I'm removing this da. This na goes straight to being a the. But it's unreleased. Yeah? The tortoise and the hare. The tortoise and the hare. The tortoise, again, voice th, not the tortoise. The tortoise and the hare. This moves over. Tortoise and the tortoise and the hare. The tortoise and the hare. So here as well, if we say this naturally with the stress, the tortoise and the hare. The tortoise and the hare. The tortoise and the hare. Yeah? Is one called the tortoise and the hare. That would be the stress. A hare is like a rabbit. A hare. So if this were in isolation, hare, hare. Together, a hare is with the r. Now, someone mentioned about intrusive linking sounds. I still don't know when to intrude y, w, and r. I have a full video about it. I have a full video about linking sounds. I have a full playlist all about connected speech, and I explain it there. Does our tongue stop when you touch the one in order to be ready for the k sound? So you're not doing a n, you're doing a For example, if we say the word king, yeah, if you take the word king, who said it? Oh, who was it? Oh, it was Giovanni. If we take the word king, oh, sorry, I can't even see that. My fat head is in the way. Let me put that there. So yeah, we've got the word king, right? I don't say kin, kin, kin. This sound here is ng. In phonetics, it's like this, yeah? It's at the back here. So imagine you're doing a g sound. Like, imagine you're saying the word go. Yeah, everyone here knows the word go, right? So, with g, imagine you're doing that g, okay? But instead, you're going to hold it, right? So instead of saying g and releasing, you hold it, okay? King, king. Same happens here. Is one k, and then you're going to release it as a k here. Is one called called the tortoise and the hare. Here, as well, forgot to mention, you can cut this D. By the way, you can cut that D there. So, is one called the tortoise and the hare? Is one called the tortoise and the hare? Will this class disappear? No, it will be available to watch later in the replay. Don't worry. I'm going to try and get to here though. We don't have much time and I really need to finish in like 10 minutes. So we're going to breeze through this last bit. A hare is like a... We're going to move this over. A hare is like a rabbit. 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 So you see what I'm doing? I'm kind of exaggerating the stress more, and then I'm saying it more naturally. Yeah? But it's larger in... So larger, larger. But together, we're going to connect it with that r again. But it's larger in. So we're going to remove that D. But it's larger in tens. I'm going to move that over. But it's larger in tends to. Yeah. This D is almost removed. Like, pretty much removed. I'm going to say almost removed. It is pretty much gone. Yeah. Tends to. It's gone. It's gone. Just remove it. Just remove it. Yeah. So, with certain consonant clusters, I'll explain this quickly. We have something called consonant clusters in English. They exist in many languages, okay? It's not just English. But English really is one of the masters of consonant clusters. And it's essentially when you get a group of consonant sounds together. So I'll give you an example. If I say like hand, okay? So you got a, n, d. So n, d, two consonant sounds. This is a consonant cluster. If I say hands, which no one ever says, okay, never say hands. A, n, d, z. Yeah, so now we've got n, d, z. So that final one is a z, right? What we can do when we have certain consonant clusters together, and there's 3 or more consonant clusters, we can cut one of the sounds in the middle. So instead of saying hands, which pretty much no one says, we cut the sound in the middle of the consonant cluster and we say hands. Yeah, one hand. So we still say the duh. Yeah, one hand, two hands. Hand, hands. Tends to have ears. Have ears. So remember that r. So we're not saying ears, yeah, but ear, ears. Tends to have ears. It tends to have ears. This joins as well. Which point backwards. Point backwards. Notice what I'm doing. Which point backwards. I'm not pronouncing the T. I'm changing it to a P. Yeah? And we're doing that to make it easier to say this one here. Okay? Which point backwards. Because if I say which point backwards, it's a bit more difficult to say. And this is why many learners really struggle when it comes to pronunciation. Yeah? Because they're like, but this is really difficult when we have these two sounds together. And what we would do is we would change the sounds. Yeah? Why a flap T? We don't use the flap T. This is not a flap T. This is assimilation. So we're changing the sound, yeah? This is what assimilation is. We're changing a sound to make it easier to pronounce the next sound. Yeah? Assimilation, again, exactly Carolina. Carolina is the assimilation queen. So yeah, point backwards. Have ears which point backwards. Point backwards. Yeah, notice I'm also not really pronouncing the N. Yeah, point backwards. Point backwards. I'm always just saying like poi. Just like poi. Point backwards. As opposed to this one here, we're going to cut this D. This E is silent, so of course we don't say it. So these two, as opposed to upwards. This one here, we're going to link with a W. I feel I've got hiccups and I'm like really trying to repress the hiccups. So if you hear like a little, it's that. As opposed to upwards, upwards, adding that W. Upwards like a rabbit's. As opposed to upwards like a rabbit's. These join as well. A tortoise is a similar... So tortoise is a similar... What grammar was that? A tortoise is also similar to a turtle. A tortoise is also... All linked together. A tortoise is also similar... So not similar... Similar to a. Linking with a W. A tortoise is also similar to a turtle. 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 So just getting that stress, yeah? It's like a song. You'll go to sleep tonight like, a tortoise is similar to a turtle. But it lives, so this joins together. But it lives. So this here, we can glottalize it. I've not talked about glottalization in this lesson because I feel it's something to talk about another time. And I want to keep it as simple as possible in this lesson. But I would probably glottalize this. But it lives here as well. But it lives on land. But it lives on land. On land. Do you remember? In life. On land. We have that connection again. Yeah? Land. But it lives on land and isn't aquatic. So here I can remove this. And isn't. And isn't aquatic. But it lives on land and isn't aquatic. That joins as well. Yeah. Final one. Let's go through this final little sentence here, and then we'll talk about something else. So the story of. So even though this is a Y, it's actually ending in a vowel sound. Yeah. The story is here. Yeah. The story of, and we're going to link it together with a ya. That's a terrible. There we go. Terrible brackets. The story of the. So remember, we're not saying of the or of the, but of the. The story of the. The story of the tortoise and the hare goes like this. Tortoise and the. Tortoise and the. Tortoise and the hare goes like this. Nothing really happens here. Nothing that I want to talk about. We're going to start with the video lesson. Let's go. Almost got caught. It was a dark November night. Street lights were too dim to even see the road clearly. The road home seemed to be longer than usual for her. She was walking as fast as she could when she suddenly felt somebody's presence. It was still evening according to the clock, but the little snow elf was already running late. He was carrying a giant bag full of snowflakes on his back and swiftly jumped from one cloud to another. Rushing did him no good, as he suddenly stumbled at the edge of one cloud. She looked around, searching for a silhouette of another person going home from maybe their work or studies. Right above her was the elf, desperately trying to regain his balance. Unfortunately for him, his bag was so full that when he leaned to one side, some of the snowflakes fell out. She heard some shuffles and raised her head to look up. Luckily, she noticed the snow in the light of a street lantern and smiled. The night immediately stopped being so chilly. The elf sighed with relief and continued on his way, but this time more carefully. Now let's read it more slowly. Almost got caught. It was a dark November night. Street lights were too dim to even see the road clearly. The road home seemed to be longer than usual for her. She was walking as fast as she could when she suddenly felt somebody's presence. It was still evening according to the clock, but the little snow elf was already running late. He was carrying a giant bag full of snowflakes on his back and swiftly jumped from one cloud to another. Rushing did him no good, as he suddenly stumbled at the edge of one cloud. She looked around, searching for a silhouette of another person going home from maybe their work or studies. Right above her was the elf, desperately trying to regain his balance. Unfortunately for him, his bag was so full that when he leaned to one side, some of the snowflakes fell out. She heard some shuffles and raised her head to look up. Luckily, she noticed the snow in the light of a street lantern and smiled. The night immediately stopped being so chilly. The elf sighed with relief and continued on his way, but this time more carefully. Okay, now let's go through and analyze some of the pronunciation features. So, notice when I read even just the title, I say almost got caught. Almost got caught. This T, almost got caught. You could say I either glottalize it or I remove it. I would say I kind of more glottalize it. So it's like almost got caught. So this one for sure is glottalized. Now, if you're not sure what I mean when I say glottalized, instead of pronouncing the T as what's called a true T by some people, instead of saying got, I say got. So I'm pronouncing it here, okay? And contrary to what some people say, it is not bad English, it is just English. It's how a lot of people speak, okay? So almost got caught, almost got caught. So I can also glottalize this one as well. Got caught, almost got caught. That might be a bit too much. So almost got caught, almost got caught. So I can glottalize those. It was a dark November night. So again, I'm going to glottalize this. Because all these little words that don't matter, like prepositions, pronouns, auxiliary verbs, and so on, they're not that important. So what we can do is cut sounds, change them, make them weaker with schwas and so on, or glottalize T's if they have T's. You'll see it happens with words like and as well, where we cut the D and it becomes, for example, and changes to things like that. You'll see what I mean. So it was a, join this together. Not it was a dark. It was a dark. It was a dark. I'm really stressing that dark, and everything before it is it was a. Yeah, it's really, really soft, really weak. It was a dark November night. November. So notice I'm not saying November with that because we're not American. There are some accents in the UK where they do pronounce the R at the end of words, but in modern RP and RP we don't. So it was a dark November night. Street lights. Again, we can glottalize. Street lights were too dim to even. Notice what I'm doing? To even see the road clearly. To even see. So notice I'm not trying to separate these. To even see. To even see. The road clearly. So this duh, we're going to change it into more of kind of like a g, but we're not saying rogue. Rogue clearly. Rogue clearly. So we're holding that, kind of like a g, let's say. We're holding that g, and then we're releasing it as a k. So this happens, I mentioned it before in videos, this happens with duh, t, and n, quite commonly at the end of words. It can also happen with k quite frequently as well, but for now we're just going to focus on these three. These three are like the main culprits. There's a full lesson about this all on my course that talks about it. It's called assimilation, and these three are the biggest culprits, okay? So road clearly. We don't say road clearly, but road clearly. The road home. So this one's not going to change because whenever you have a vowel coming after or a h sound, we don't change it. The d stays the same. So I'm not going to say row home. Like it doesn't change, just the d. We keep it. The road home. The road home. The road home. The road home seemed to be. Notice I'm cutting this d here. Seemed to be longer than usual for her. So careful with this as well. A lot of people say like usual, but usual. Seemed to be longer than usual for her. She was walking as fast as she. So usually as is a strong form, as she. But we're going to make it softer, and the next word starts with sh. So we're just going to change that to a s. As she could. She was walking as fast as she could. When she, not when she suddenly felt somebody's presence. So you might be thinking, well, Emma, do I need to use these glottal stops? No, you don't need to, but you are going to hear it a lot. And this is what really bugs me about some people when they're like, why are you teaching the glottal stop? No one uses it, blah, blah, blah. It's bad English. No, it's not. Get that horrible perception of the glottal stop out of your head, okay? Even the Queen of England was recorded using a glottal stop. So the glottal stop was good enough for the Queen, it's good enough for us. So let's carry on. It was still. So of course, was, usually with the strong form has z, was. But the next word starts with s, was still. So what we can do is just soften this, make it devoiced, was still. And it makes it easy to transition, right? It was still, it was still, it was still evening. So again, glottalize this. Still evening, still evening. So, punch my mic, sorry. So, what we're doing is we're taking that la, we're moving it over to the beginning of the next word. Still evening. It was still evening according to the clock. So, notice here as well, I'm not saying to the clock or to the clock. Watch this TH here, though you're not saying to the clock, but the clock, the clock. Okay, I have a full video about this sound. If I write it properly here, you can't really see with the symbol, but it looks like this, okay? So voiced TH, we have two TH sounds in English, th and v. I have a full video about them. I'll put it in the description. You can watch that. To the. We're using weak forms here. I'm not saying to the or to the clock. To the clock. It was still evening according to the clock, but the. We're going to join them again. But the. Glottalize that T. But the little snow whelf. We're adding that were. Connected speech. Little snow whelf was already. This time we're going to keep this z because we don't have a voiceless sound after it. So we're going to keep it as a z. We're going to keep it voiced. Was already. But we're going to move it. Was already running late. He was carrying. Now we've got a voiceless sound again, right? Voiceless sound, no vibration. Was carrying. He was carrying, change that to a s, was carrying a giant bag. I'm changing this to more of like a m. Giant bag. I'm just cutting that N. I'm not even saying the N. Yeah? Not giant bag. Giant bag. We're going to connect them together. Full of. Now, what you can do with this of as well. So, of would be the strong form. If I write it here. Of. Okay? Strong form. Of. Here, because we've got a consonant sound coming after it, we can pronounce this as fuller snowflakes, and just as a schwa, okay? So this is one of the weak forms, fuller snowflakes. Another thing you can do, usually if you have a vowel sound after, but you can also do it with consonants, okay? You can pronounce that v and say of. So full of snowflakes or fuller snowflakes. Depends if there's a consonant or vowel coming after. On his back, on his. So notice I'm not saying on his back. What we can do with some weak words like pronouns, prepositions, articles, conjunctions, and so on, we can remove certain sounds, certain letters. So here in this case, we can remove the H, we can remove the h sound. So on his, we're going to connect it together. On his back. And swiftly. So as I mentioned, remember I said and. We don't say and swiftly. We say and swiftly. And swiftly. So it's really weak. It's a nice little schwa. And swiftly. So notice I'm not pronouncing this T. And swiftly. It's really hard. And swiftly jumped. Yeah, too hard. Cut the T. And swiftly jumped. And swiftly jumped. From one cloud. So like we did with giant bag. We're going to change that one cloud to another, another what there. Rushing did him, not did him no good. As he cut it again, as he suddenly stumbled at the, again, connect them, the edge. So this y sound, this y symbol is y, as in like yes, yesterday, yellow, okay? The edge of one cloud. We're going to change that, connect it. One cloud. Stumbled at the edge of one cloud. Now for the final paragraph. She looked around. She looked, with that consonant over, looked around, searching for. Now, if you're familiar with British English, you might have picked up already that we don't pronounce R's at the end of words. So if I say, for example, another for or th, if it's the weak form, or I don't say or, another, for, and so on, I cut that R. It becomes silent in British English, right? Some accents pronounce it, but in modern RP, which I'm teaching here, no. What you might notice here, in this case, right here, is that I am adding that r. Thorough. And this is the linking R. This is because we've got two vowel sounds together. So we need to separate them, okay? You've noticed it already with w and y, and this is the same case here. So thorough, searching for a silhouette. So quite a strange spelling with this word, but silhouette of another person. So again, notice I'm not saying person, but person. Going home from maybe their work or studies. Right above, connected. Right above her was the elf. The elf, connecting two vowels together, yeah? For the elf. Desperately. Just cut this T. Desperately. Change it into a glottal. Instead of saying desperately, it's really hard. Don't try and do it. Don't force it. Desperately. Trying to regain his balance. Desperately trying to regain his balance. Unfortunately, it's very hard. Unfortunately for him, his bag was so full. We're going to really stress that so. Raise your intonation. His bag was so full that when he leaned to one side, so I'd say he leaned to one side. It's quite hard. He leaned to one side. We cut that D. That when he leaned to one side, connect those. One side was so full that when he leaned to one side, some of the, so again, we can say some of the, doesn't matter, some of the, because we've got a consonant coming after, right? Some of the snowflakes fell out. Oh dear, the poor elf. She heard some. So notice when I get these two sounds together that are quite similar, like ta, da, na, sa, za, and so on, we connect them together. Heard some. I'm just moving my tongue from that da to sa. I'm not releasing heard some. Heard some shuffles and raised her head to look up. Luckily, she noticed the snow in the light. So same things we looked at already. Snow in the light of a street lantern. Light of a, all of this links together, yeah? Snow in the light of a street lantern. And smiled. I can say street lantern, but to look together is quite hard. Street lantern, glottalize it, make life easier. Street lantern, and smiled. The night immediately stopped being so chilly. The elf, looked at it already. The elf sighed with relief and continued. The elf sighed with relief and continued on his way. So we can remove this or not, it's up to you. Continued on his way. But this time, connect together again, glottalize. But this time, again, connect. but this time more carefully. So if you found that I've missed any connected speech, pronunciation features and things like that, no doubt there are things that I've missed. It's either because I've just not noticed, there's already a lot here, maybe I didn't want to cover it, but feel free to put any questions in the comments, okay? That's what I'm here for, and I'll try and help out. Right now, we're going to do a practice run together. I'm going to read it at normal speed, but if you really need to slow the video down, then you can use the settings of the video or go back to the beginning of the video and listen to the slower version. Okay, let's go. Almost got caught. It was a dark November night. Street lights were too dim to even see the road clearly. The road home seemed to be longer than usual for her. She was walking as fast as she could when she suddenly felt somebody's presence. It was still evening according to the clock, but the little snow elf was already running late. He was carrying a giant bag full of snowflakes on his back and swiftly jumped from one cloud to another. Rushing did him no good, as he suddenly stumbled at the edge of one cloud. She looked around searching for a silhouette of another person going home from maybe their work or studies. Right above her was the elf, desperately trying to regain his balance. Unfortunately for him, his bag was so full that when he leaned to one side, some of the snowflakes fell out. She heard some shuffles and raised her head to look up. Luckily, she noticed the snow in the light of a street lantern and smiled. The night immediately stopped being so chilly. The elf sighed with relief and continued on his way, but this time more carefully.